Third down and 20.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We're on episode 21 of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. We got Frank here, Jake here, JT here. JT, sorry for making fun of you right before this. How are you guys?
I'm hurt.
It's always
I'm
good
ready
to
to
be
get to
back.
another
Another episode ready to kick it off.
Yeah, man, Super Bowl coming soon too. So we're gonna start this episode. We started to get a bunch of answers on the Coaching Carousel. Nearly all of them. It should be all of them, but we're gonna get to that last team later. So we'll start it off just on our thoughts on each of these new hires and how they affect certain dynasty players on each team. We'll start with Jake talking about the Falcons hiring Arthur Smith, the Titans offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great hire for the Falcons. I think it's going to bring them a little bit of a new identity. We've gotten really used to, the Falcons going out there and just chucking the ball a whole lot. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, all these guys just throwing the ball down the field a whole lot. And I think it kind of got repetitive, and that's kind of what led to the demise of this offense coming to an end real quickly, following that devastating loss to the Patriots after being up 28-3. I think everything just kind of crumbled after that. But yeah, this hire, I think it's going to establish a new identity of this team. I think they're going to try to take on a bit of a more run-heavy offense, which will benefit whoever ends up being the quarterback of this team. I think it looks like they're going to take a quarterback high on the draft, move on from Matt Ryan after, I think he was drafted in 2006. So it's been a long time for Matt Ryan in Atlanta, and I think he's coming to an end. I wouldn't be surprised if they also moved on from Julio Jones here. This Falcons team's going to look a whole lot different, and I think Arthur Smith, whoever is that running back there, I don't think he's currently on the roster, but I think he will benefit, and they'll try to do what Tennessee does and just pound the rock, and do a lot of play action pass here.
I'd agree with that. I think the Falcons with this hire has kind of become the number one running back landing spot, whether it be a high draft pick out of those top three guys, or if they sign to someone big like Carson or Aaron Jones. So I'm with you. I'd be interested to see who they sign or draft.
All right, moving on. We got the Jets. They hired Robert Saleh, and then Robert Saleh, poaching from the 49ers coaching staff, brings in Mike LaFleur, a guy, if you listen to the 3rd and 20 podcast, I have been saying that every team should try to get as their OC. I think that this guy's legit. So a couple of things I think that LaFleur will bring to the Jets is, A, last time the Jets were good, they had a good defense, which hopefully Robert Saleh will bring. And on top of that, they were great running the football. I think that that's what LaFleur is going to instill or try to instill in this Jets team is, hey, let's get back to running the football. And sadly, I do think that that might come in a multiple back system. I do think still that LaMichael Piron is a great buy, especially considering his price. I'm not even sure you'd have to give more than a third for him. So I do think that he's going to be a great buy, especially in PPR leagues with some PPR passing. Now, the other thing, too, is that just looking at the 49ers offense from last year, he was their passing game coordinator. They were a team that really spread the ball out a ton. So in terms of buying heavily on someone like Denzel Mims, unless you really like the talent or someone that they draft, I would be a little bit more hesitant to buy into the big name receiver on the offense. But on the contrary, I think you might be able to snag a value deal with what is seen as their second or third receiver coming into the season.
That's a good point about the 49ers passing attack, how much they did spread it out. We've got, who do we have next? I don't know. We got the Jags with Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I'll take this one also. The Jags hired Urban Meyer. I think it was one of the bigger names that took a head coaching job this offseason. Obviously, everyone knows him from his days at Florida winning national championships, his days at Ohio State winning national championship. It's his first go-around in the NFL, and I think it's a good spot to be in where he's going to have the number one overall pick and presumably Trevor Lawrence with that. I think this offense is going to look really good, really different. I think he's going to just really put his playmakers in positions to succeed, like he's done in college, where he just gets Curtis Samuel the ball in many different ways, gets Zeke the ball in many different ways, and even going back to Tim Tebow and all those guys at Florida, he really puts his players in really good positions here. I would be very interested in getting a guy like Laviska Shenault. DJ Chark, James Robinson. I think they all will succeed, and obviously having Trevor Lawrence under center next year doesn't hurt. So overall, I like the hire of Urban Meyer. Is it risky because he's never coached in the NFL? Yes, but I do like it, and I think it's a good way to go for the Jags.
Yeah, so I kind of like the last part that you added because I think I'm in the position of I want to zig when everyone's zagging kind of thing, where the hiring by the Jags for Urban Meyer and the incoming generational prospect in Trevor Lawrence is really starting to inflate the Jaguar stocks. Like all you're going to see during this offseason is go buy Laviska Shenault, go buy DJ Chark, go buy James Robinson because this offense is going to be elite and amazing. And it's just getting to the point where I'm starting to get worried now about that. We saw it with the Browns a couple years ago. Now, their offense this most recent year was actually pretty good. But it does take time, and having a brand new NFL coach, I get he's an established coach who's won national championships in college before, but the NFL and college aren't the same thing. Like there's turnover every 4 years in college, and you're more of a recruiter and kind of like a hype man than you are like what you are in the NFL, and it's something that I'm getting really wary of, and something that I'm starting to pump the brakes, and I'm like, I don't know about this, guys. Like, I get it. I'm excited about these players too, but at the value that they're starting to get increased to, like, it's kind of where I'm ready to just say enough is enough for me.
Yeah, I think
So as a DJ Chark owner, sorry, go ahead, Jake.
I mean, I think that's an interesting take that JT is saying, and I kind of understand it. If you wanted to sell on the hype and capitalize on the hype of Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, I think that's a good way to go. Just because none of these receivers in Jacksonville are elite wide receivers, talent wise, they're not the Julio Jones talent, they're not a DeAndre Hopkins talent. So capitalizing on the inflated value that people are just assuming they will have due to the hire and Trevor Lawrence, I think is a good way to go about it as well.
Yeah. That being said, though, like I'm also not going out and not taking Trevor Lawrence at pick 101 in Superflex drafts. Like,
yeah, I don't think anyone's doing that.
Yeah, it's just like let's temper expectations because I just think this is going to be that like how the Cardinals were that frisky underdog team that everyone had in the playoffs this year and could go on a Super Bowl run, and the Browns the year prior. I think that's going to be the Jags this year, and it's just a team that I'm nervous and cautious about. That's all. All right, moving on. The Chargers. I'll take this. They hired Brandon Staley, the Rams defensive coordinator. But more so, what I want to focus on from a dynasty perspective is they hired Joe Lombardi as their offensive coordinator. That's kind of interesting to me. He mentioned in his press conference that he's ready. He was really excited to build around the elite talent that is Justin Herbert, which is encouraging. But I mean, that's what a coach is supposed to say. I'm kind of worried about what happened with him and Matthew Stafford in Detroit. He got fired there, and then that's when he ended up on the Saints as the quarterbacks coach, working with Drew Brees the past few years. Hopefully he was able to, establish himself better and, make himself a better coordinator, quarterback coach. We'll see. I guess he was touted and looked after. I think the Seahawks were a different team that wanted him as well. So, sure. I think it's just an average hire across the board for me, both coach and OC. Someone I like more. I don't know if we got this out because of we managed to lose a decent chunk of an episode at one point, but the Lions hired Dan Campbell, otherwise known as that dude on his door.
Wait, real quick, JT.
Yes.
We lost a chunk of the episode. Like the Lions' opponents are going to be losing kneecaps.
Yeah, exactly. Just electric guy ready to make you run through a brick wall right from his press conference, Dan Campbell. It's I think
Watch
it's
your
a culture.
kneecaps, fellas.
Yeah, I definitely see it as a good culture change kind of hire. Like, this guy is very electric. I just hope he doesn't come in like Matt Patricia and is just such a hardo that the team ends up going against him and hating him. But he did end up hiring Anthony Lynn and Deuce Campbell. What's his name? Is it Deuce Campbell?
Deuce Staley.
Deuce Staley.
Deuce.
God, I screwed that. Oh, it's Dan Campbell. That's why I screwed up. Deuce Staley. So it does seem like they have, kind of a focal point on the running back position, because Anthony Lynn did a great job with Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler as the Chargers, and we saw what Deuce Staley was able to do with Miles Sanders on the Eagles. So that's got me excited as a DeAndre Swift owner. I've said enough about him on previous podcasts, but that's essentially where I see the direction of the Lions going. I'm not convinced that they're going to keep Golladay. Matthew Stafford is almost certainly gone. We saw reports that he wanted out. So the run game kind of seems like all they're going to have.
And also with Deuce Staley, not only Miles Sanders, but he developed LaShawn McCoy during his prime
That's
from
true
his
as well.
rookie
Yeah.
season. I just want to say the funny comment about Dan Campbell. As funny and great as that interview was, the reporter asked him, "How do you plan on improving the Lions after like years of not doing great?" And the kneecap answer was his answer.
Dude, he was on the
"How do you plan
0-16
on improving the
Lions. This is personal. When he gets to kneecaps, it's personal, all right?
I respect
He's
it.
out for blood.
I respect it. He'll be the last one standing. But okay, the Eagles hired Nick. I want to say his last name right. Sirianni. Yeah,
Sirianni.
the Colts OC. I saw a funny thing. It was like, instead of trading Wentz to the Colts, they brought the Colts to Wentz. They
That's great. That is great.
they brought over their passing game coordinator also, who was on Sirianni's offensive staff. And pretty much, if you couldn't get from what I just said before, I fully anticipate Wentz to be the starter now for next season. How that goes, I don't know. Is he going to be able to fix Wentz or not? I do think it's a little bit risky with the Eagles. I think while I do like the hire, because what he's done with the Colts offense is nice, it's risky because they're kind of banking on him making Wentz work. So we're gonna see how that does work if he does have a bounce back year. I think besides him, I do think this helps Miles Sanders, as he's probably going to play a similar role to how Jonathan Taylor was last season in Indianapolis. I think he'll be a focal point on the offense. As for that, it's hard to tell. I'd see them bringing in a number one receiver this offseason, so I'm not as high on Rager as I was before. But I think the number one player this hiring obviously impacts is Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, for the fact that I fully anticipate Wentz to be the starter and Jalen Hurts to be a backup entering next season. And our last, well, not really a hire, but non-hire. Somehow the Texans in like a month or two span have taken over the Jets for like the laughing stock. The Jets have made good moves, and the Texans were the first team to fire their coach. But they had the longest time to get ready. And yet here we are now, a week or two after the last team had hired their head coach, and they still don't have one. Their best quarterback they've had maybe in franchise, I think in franchise history, you can make the case, wants out. And I have no idea what they're doing. It looks like
Dude,
they
you
might
put some
hire.
respect on Matt Schaub's name. God damn it!
Matt Schaub put in some low key hype years, dude. Not gonna lie, him and Andre Johnson used to be pretty nice in fantasy. I'm not gonna lie.
You also threw some hype pick sixes.
Hey, I think
No,
he holds the record. He holds the record for number of games in a row with the pick six thrown.
that was crazy watching it happen.
Yeah, I mean, dude, honestly,
but-
I feel bad for him though, because if Nathan Peterman just was able to start enough games, he would have broken it. But like,
Probably.
Hey, don't you put
Probably.
bad on the Peterman.
But
Hey, he's Gruden's guy. The Peterman goes wherever the Gruden goes.
he's good. How
Glenn
many other
on.
quarterbacks are playing? He has more playoff experience than Wentz. But with this, there's really no excuse for how bad they've handled this offseason. If they hire Bieniemy, I like the hire. Frazier, I have to think about, but I couldn't tell you who they're gonna hire.
Or
Like
Dable or anyone. They could just hire
Dable-
any coach.
yeah, just hire a coach so that at least like free agency's gonna come up sooner than you think. Once the season ends, it's around mid-March, I want to say. Isn't free agency usually around March?
Deshaun has got to be out, right? Like,
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not.
Percentage is just creeping higher and higher as each
Yeah.
passing day goes on.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
my god.
I think at this
The
point,
real
it's
question is, where does Deshaun go? Do you think he goes to the Jets? You think he goes to Miami? I think he has a no trade clause, so I think he can basically dictate where he goes.
he said he would waive it. The report is he would waive it for Miami or the Jets.
See, the
He
thing
likes
is
both
though,
those
is that if he requests a trade, right, and let's just assume that Miami, who holds a lot of the pieces, says no, like because if I'm Miami, I'm not sure I want to trade for Watson just because I can cash in on all these picks that we got and just build an insane roster, right? So like if
You
they
could have a top 5 quarterback. So
yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, a quarterback doesn't necessarily win you games as much as a sick roster. Like, yes, they could trade for Watson, but they could be like the 49ers almost if they take all these picks and then still have a quarterback on a rookie deal.
okay, but who beat the Niners in the Super Bowl?
Okay, yeah, but Deshaun Watson ain't Patrick Mahomes. I hate to break it to you.
He's not that, but he's up there.
He's not Patrick
definitely
Mahomes up
better.
there.
He's not Patrick Mahomes.
He's not Patrick
Yeah, but
Mahomes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he's not Jimmy Garoppolo either. So
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the current state of the Dolphins' offense, like if they trade away all their picks and all their assets and they just have Deshaun Watson, like it's not that great. It's Devontae Parker, it's Mike Gesicki.
I'm gonna assume they
Well,
probably would keep pick 18.
Well,
Like,
this is what I'm going to say, though, right? If they,
no, I think that would have to be in the deal.
well, here's the thing,
3
right?
and
If
18 are both in the deal.
If Deshaun
you're
requests
right,
a trade and he's going out no matter what, and the Texans have zero leverage, then that price starts going way down. Because Lounis is right, or whoever said they could keep pick 18 is right. Like on the Deshaun Watson segment that me and Steve did on the 3rd and 20 podcast, like there are scenarios where they can get valuation over the first overall pick in a standard draft, not this one, in a regular old draft according to the Jimmy Johnson trade chart. They could get value over that 3,000 it takes to get the first overall pick and keep pick 18. Like, it's actually not very difficult to do because that pick 3 is just so high value.
If you're the Texans in a trade for Miami, if you get pick 3, do you also want Tua, or would you rather get another first?
I like the idea of Tua and just building around Tua. Like, I get the hate towards him. Like, they really just had him as a game manager. Didn't really force him to make any difficult throws. Most likely because he wasn't capable of doing that. But like to just have this like young rookie quarterback, like that you can essentially mold and try and build around. Like I think it's better than just having 2 young rookie quarterbacks that you're gonna have to mold. Because I'm gonna assume at 3, like Trevor Lawrence is obviously gone, and there's a solid chance that whether it's the Jets or another team, like Justin Fields is probably also gone as well. So you're gonna have to build around either Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, who, while I like both of them, like they're no surefire thing. Like I don't think I necessarily rate Tua much lower than that. And instead of spending that capital on another quarterback, you can then go and spend that capital on another wide receiver or what have you, a tackle if you want. I mean, I know you just spent a ton of money on Tunsil, so you probably don't even need that tackle. So it could realistically be Jamar Chase. If you give like Tua a team of Jamar Chase, Brandon Cooks, and Will Fuller, that's a pretty lethal offense that you could work with. It's much different than what you had in Miami. So it's something I'd be willing to risk it on.
I still think we should watch out for one of those teams that needs to quarterback a team like the Colts or one of those, because if that price starts going down and Miami says, nope, we're not trading for him, then the Jets could follow suit, because I think everyone can agree that while the Jets do have the capital, it makes a lot less sense for them to trade for Deshaun than Miami. So then all of a sudden, if you have those two teams not trade for Deshaun, then I could see the Texans almost scrambling for one of those teams to
No way
try
they
and
trade
get
him to the
multiple
Colts,
firsts.
though.
What?
I wouldn't think that like you're trading Watson to a
No, a team
Sure,
like
the
the
division.
so that could be the
Division
Patriots, that
or-
could be Denver, whoever, right? There's plenty of
Okay.
Washington. There
Okay,
are
yeah.
crap tons of teams that could use a Deshaun Watson. That
Yeah.
and then you might not have to give up
Okay, got
your next 3 first-round picks. You might just go, okay, your first this year, first next year, second this year, maybe a couple other later round swaps and bullshit, and then bang. Like that, then you can get because if we're going off of the classic Deshaun Watson price, sorry for dragging this out, but if we're going off of that, Deshaun Watson is worth more than the first overall pick. It's just tough for these teams to realistically trade for him without giving up all of their significant draft capital for the next 3 seasons. And yeah, Deshaun Watson is good, but is he let me give up all of my draft picks for the next 3 years kind of good? Especially after we saw what happens when to a team like the Texans if that blows up in your face.
Yeah, and not only that, but like it's a whole. We could get into this for a while. I did look up the odds just to see what's going on. Who's expected to go and get him? Dolphins were the favorite, and followed by the Jets. The Panthers were actually surprisingly third. The Falcons were also there, and then some other teams like the Saints, Colts, Broncos are all possibilities. So,
Dude, Panthers is nice. I like that a lot, actually.
It'd be a very, very good offense if you get the Panthers with Deshaun Watson.
You got a young ass team.
I don't know what
McCaffrey,
you give up.
Watson, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. Wow, that would be some offense to watch right there.
My bye week
Yeah,
would suck. The Panthers' bye week would suck.
I don't know what you give up though for like so obviously they give up that top 10 pick, whatever number it
7,
is the Panthers have. 7, and then it's gotta, I guess, just be future years picks.
The only
Yeah, I
thing
don't
you can
know.
really give.
All right.
Anyway, let's move
Yeah.
on. Let's move on to our next segment, which is a little unorthodox segment, but we thought it was kind of interesting. It's a buy high and sell low, meaning this is a guy that you just truly love the value of and you're willing to pay up for, and a guy that you just think you're selling low on, but you think he's just gonna continue to get worse, and you're just selling off to cut your losses and get whatever you can. So I guess JT, you want to kick us off?
Oh, all right. Well, I wasn't ready for this. I'm excited. I'm gonna get a little flack for this because it's actually someone that I did buy high. But I have 2 of them here at the spot, and it's for the same reason essentially. My buy highs are wide receivers DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley. Practicing what I preach, I went out and got DJ Moore, and the reason why I did this is there's an interesting stat going around on Twitter, but it is something that should come to light. It's since 1992, so we've got about almost 30 years of sample. We've had 16 wide receivers start their first three years of their career with 300 plus targets, 200 plus receptions, and 3,000 plus receiving yards. And currently, the 2 that are joining that list are DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley.
Right? Who are the others?
I don't know. But of those 16 wide receivers, 75% finished their career with 3+ wide receiver 1 seasons. So 12 out of 16 have gone on to post wide receiver 1 seasons. Currently, I'm pretty sure Calvin Ridley and definitely DJ Moore are ranked outside of wide receiver 1 dynasty value. DJ Moore is obviously a lot younger than Calvin Ridley, kind of just how it worked with when they entered when they went to college. There is an age discrepancy between the 2. But we've seen, really solid numbers from both of them. DJ Moore, I guess you'd say kind of had a down year, but a down year was still a top, I believe it was, I'll pull up the stats real quick. Sorry about this. But DJ Moore finished as wide receiver 23.5 point PPR on a team that, has a lot of other weapons and Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback. The quarterback situation, I feel like, can only get better for the Panthers. for the Falcons, Julio Jones is likely going to leave. We were talking before about the Falcons looking and shopping around Julio and Matt Ryan. So we're probably going to see fresh new faces on the Falcons, but who's still there? Who's the guy that they're building around? That's Calvin Ridley. With Arthur Smith there too, kind of like the AJ Brown role for the Falcons. I like Calvin Ridley. So these are the two guys that I'm going out and buying. I'll let you guys jump in now if you want to hate on him or like the take. Go ahead, Frank. Go ahead.
All right. I completely agree on Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, if you watch the Falcons offense and you watch the all 22 of Calvin Ridley, he is, in my opinion, undoubtedly a top 5 talented receiver in the NFL. And I have him currently as the top of my tier 2 receivers at 4th overall in Dynasty. Yes, that's over Justin Jefferson. Yes, that's over DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care. I love Calvin Ridley. His feet and his route running are insane. The guy's got insane hands. It's just he's everything you would want in a top receiver. And for some reason, even after the start to the season he had, he's not a consensus top 5 guy. And it baffles me a little bit. Maybe it's because everyone loves Justin Jefferson so much and some of the other receivers, but oh man, I think that Calvin Ridley, like, it started this year, but for the next 3 or 4 years, that this is going to be a Calvin Ridley dominated league where he is around that top 10 consistently every season.
Yeah, I mean that's why I was going off as well. Does Julio / Matt Ryan leaving worry you at all? Personally, it doesn't, but I want to see what you think.
I don't
Calvin
think
Ridley's
so.
never not had success in his life. He's always been good.
Well, yes. But it doesn't bother me because, Julio missed basically all of this year. I think he played 6 games this year or something like that. He did not play a whole lot. And on top of that, they do have a top 10 pick and is likely to be used on a quarterback. And they're not replacing him with, a bridge guy. They're going to try to replace him with their next quarterback. It's not a concern for me for the Falcons here.
All right, are we good on both those guys? Are we ready for my sell?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I was gonna go. I don't think the pod in the world is ready for the hot take of sell Jerry Jeudy. That was going to be my guy.
I would have loved it.
Yeah, but I'm going to pivot off it. I kind of have been mean to him on recent pods. So going to someone else is actually Zeke Elliott. I think he's lost a lot of value, so that is where we're getting into the sell low kind of thing. But what you're going to start seeing over this offseason and what everyone's going to start posting about is he had a very injured offensive line. Dak wasn't in. He might have been banged up as well. Like, he's going to turn this year around. This is going to be a comeback year. And part of me says, sure, this year might actually be a comeback year for Zeke Elliott. But I'm not willing to bank on it. And even if it is a comeback year, the following year he's going to be 28. And there's so few running backs that are able to produce in their year 28 season that, they also have someone else behind him in Tony Pollard, who has shown that he is more than capable of filling in for the Zeke role. So while Zeke's value is low, I think it's going to slowly start to increase during the offseason as not rumors, but, people start to rise up and say, oh, all these excuses for Zeke. And that's why I'm just going to sell him and be like, all right, you guys can have him. And I'd go out and I'd go buy Tony Pollard. I know this is, kind of not part of the segment, but that's just my opinions on the Cowboys running back. And let me know what you guys think about that.
I mean, overall, he did not have as bad a year as everyone's saying. He finished running back 9. He only played 15 games. He ended up with 979 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground and 340 and 2 touchdowns receiving. So overall, not a horrible year, but obviously not what we've come accustomed to with Zeke. You were off by a year. Next year he will be 26, and the year after he'll be 27.
Okay.
You're off by a year. However, I do agree with you. Running backs, they start to tail off around age 27. And I think, like you said, this is the time of the year where Zeke's value is going to start to build back up, especially if the Cowboys do come to an agreement here with Dak Prescott, which I expect, I think you expect, I think we all expect as a podcast that Dak Prescott does end up back in Dallas. And if that happens, Zeke's value is going to continue to go up, especially, and then come around draft time, if they end up taking a lineman or something else to help this offense grow a little bit. I think it's just going to build on the hype of Zeke. Just he's a big name. People love big names, and they're going to get caught up in, oh, he was injured. Oh, Dak wasn't there. Like you said, it's a perfect time to sell him. And then you don't have to worry about, him tailing off towards, 26, 27, like running backs typically do.
One small, I agree with, by the way, I agree with JT. I'd say one small thing that I think could be an interesting part if you are going to sell him. For me, I'm not trying to sell him this offseason. I'm trying to sell him like 5 games into the regular season. Because I think when he's fresh to start the year with Dak back, I think he'll have a pretty good start. I think he'll have an all right season next year, but I think that might be the highest value you can sell him at when he's starting off to the good stretch for next season. But I do agree with you, Jim.
Yes, that's fair. I just move on from him quicker rather than later.
Yeah. So moving on, Loon, you want to tell us who you got?
So I've got, as my buy high, I've got CD Lamb. Now, I know there's already been a ridiculous amount of rookie hype. I'm going to explain my reasoning for him because he's already getting hyped up like crazy, and I would still buy high on him because I think he's going to be that good. CD Lamb's someone who I think is going to have multiple 1,200 yard, 13, assuming he stays healthy, which there's been no reason to not believe he will. Multiple 1,200, 1,300 yard seasons. Again, this is with Dak there. I do think Amari Cooper will not be on the team past after 2 years. I think they want to get out of his contract. And when you compare him to his fellow rookie classmate, Justin Jefferson, according to January average Dynasty ADP, is getting drafted as wide receiver 3. He's been a top 5 wide receiver in recent Dynasty startup drafts at this month of January and at the start of the offseason. And I think Lamb is going to be better long-term than Jefferson. I think they'll both be elite. I think they'll both be top 10 Dynasty wide receivers. I think Lamb does get into that top 5, though. I'll say in the next year, maybe not 1 year, but in next year and a half, 2 years. Paired along with Dak, I expect him to be the number 1 receiver by the time he's 24, 25 years old. I think he'll get there. And he's someone who, I know the hype is already really high on him, but I think he's going to even exceed that and be an elite receiver for his entire career.
What price are you giving up for him?
That's a good question. It's 2+ first. Obviously. I have to think. What would you consider the price on on a DK Metcalf?
That commands a lot, but I mean,
It's
I guess
hard to even put a price on that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need
I have
in a super
DK
flex
kind of
league.
farther ahead of CD by a decent margin.
No. I'm not saying they're the same. I just want to, because I have CD a little bit below DK. I think they're close. That's how high I am on CD.
That's so
you're willing to give up 3 first plus more probably.
Yeah, obviously it depends on the location. I don't know if I'd give up 3 top 4 firsts or something like that. But yeah, generally that.
Wow, you're really high on him. Obviously, I think he's a great receiver, very talented, good, offense to be in when Dak comes back. But 3 firsts is a lot for anybody, and especially a guy that's
I don't think
not done it yet.
That's part of the reason I'm saying I don't think it'd take 3 first right now. I think it would take a little bit over 2.
Yeah, something though that I think we have to. While I like CD Lamb, something that I think we do have to recognize when we're talking about these players is like the Cowboys player specifically is. I think we're giving the Cowboys too much credit for being a competent organization and like that they're going to be able to sign Dak. Like we're 50 days before free agency starts, and like I've seen no inclination to believe that Dak is going to sign back with the Cowboys right now. If I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be extremely worried. And if I was an owner of those Cowboys receivers, I'd, kind of get a little nervous. I just think that if there's any organization that's capable of throwing this away, I do think it's the Cowboys.
And that's a fair point. And I will say it's kind of a little bit of a cop-out disclaimer, but if Dak doesn't re-sign, my opinion does change.
What about 102?
Dak,
Are you taking CD or 102 in this draft?
I think I take CD.
Okay.
I think this is very situational. I mean, if you need a quarterback, 102 in this draft, you're going to get the cream of the crop pick besides Trevor Lawrence here. You get anyone you want. You can get Lance, you can get Fields, you can get Wilson, whoever you like. So I think it's really situational here.
Hold on. So would you rather have CeeDee Lamb or Joe Burrow without positional needs to worry about? CeeDee Lamb or Joe Burrow?
I'm taking Lamb.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, you're really high on.
And again, I'm saying this is I hate the Cowboys, but I've just always been insanely high on CD Lamb.
Okay, who's your sell, Loon? Who's your sell?
So my solo, I think we've had a lot of quarterback controversy this offseason. We've seen discussions about the incoming rookie quarterbacks. We've seen them about Sam Darnold, Jimmy G, Stafford, Wentz, a little bit of Dak, Deshaun Watson. I think this one has kind of gone under the radar, but there's been some like questionable reports coming out. So my sell low is Jared Goff. We saw, and I sent it to Jake and JT, how McVay was kind of non-committal to Jared Goff as the guy next year and moving forward. And he did kind of have a disappointing year, and then there was reports like we saw in that wild card game, he was able to play, but McVay made the decision to play that backup over him. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head.
Walford?
Walford, yeah.
Walford.
So Goff was able to play. Like, I'm sure McVay saw that in practice leading up to the game, and he still rolled with Walford as the starter. I thought that was a little bit telling. I think their GM, the report just came out today about him not being 1,000% fully committal to Jared Goff as the guy next year. That kind of raises some question marks for me too. And it's not that I don't think Jared Goff is going to not be a starter anymore. I'm just saying if he's not a starter on the Rams, I think his value goes down.
One thing I will say about this, because I do agree, and I've seen the same reports you're talking about. I think they asked like the GM of the Rams, like, is Jared Goff your quarterback? And he goes like, right now he is. Like, he wasn't really enthusiastic, or he didn't really sell anybody saying like he's gonna be for a while. But his contract extension hasn't even kicked in yet. It kicks in next year, so like they are very much so tied to that contract for at least 3 years. It's going to be very hard to get out from that contract without significant cap hits. So although I do think the Rams might want to move on from Jared Goff, I don't think they have the means to move on from Jared Goff.
That's a very fair point. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I don't know. I think you said they're out, and that contract was what, in 3 years, you said?
Yeah, I think it's after 2023.
After 2023, yeah, which makes it tough. I don't know if they'd be willing to eat some salary to make it a cheaper contract, if someone else would be willing to trade for him. I don't know what happens. I don't know if they make him the most expensive backup in NFL history. It might even be the most expensive backup in sports history.
Well, also though, just real quick, like, so the owner of the Rams is also the owner of Arsenal. Stan Kroenke, I believe, is his name. And yeah, I just I don't think he's. I guess I'm going after owners today. That's my whole organizations. I just don't think he's willing to just go and eat that cap hit. He's not really like that kind of guy. So
he's not Steve Cohen.
No, he
Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets, baby.
He's very wealthy, but I just think that part of me really believes that Jared Goff will be the guy, kind of like what the reports are coming out of Philly with Carson Wentz. Like they're just sticking with the guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of in your camp, JT. I'm sorry to disagree with you here, Loon, but I'm not panic selling Jared Goff. I think that if anything, Jared Goff could be a decent buy if someone is panic selling, just because at the end of the day, Jared Goff is never going to wow you. But at the same time, he led the team to the playoffs this year. I understand they beat the Cardinals in the last game of the season to make it to the playoffs, and Wolford won that game. But Jared Goff led them to the playoffs this year. John Wolford won one game. Then Jared Goff came in and had a pretty decent second half against the Seahawks, where I understand he didn't have a great game, but the guy had surgery on his thumb like a week ago in terms of that game. And I just think that Jared Goff, for a franchise, not fantasy related, but like for a football team, does enough for you to have him as your quarterback. He's not going to carry you necessarily, but he's the kind of guy, he's a good deep ball thrower. And he can make all the throws in the field. He's got the talent, but he will struggle against pressure. And I think we've kind of seen that. Like when the Rams O line gets hurt, they kind of suck. And when they can't run the ball, they kind of suck. But then when they can run the ball and they can give Jared Goff time and their guys are getting open, they're kind of chilling. So I think that they'll be keeping on to Jared Goff. And that contract, if the cap does keep rising and quarterbacks keep making more and more money, is not going to look as bad as you guys think it is right now.
Fair enough. So moving forward, I'll take this one. My buy high is Terry McLaurin, wide receiver of the Washington football team. I think he's a super talented wide receiver that's just been stuck with, pretty much horrible quarterbacks his whole career. He's been, his rookie year, he had Dwayne Haskins. This year he had Taylor Heineke, Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith. Like, he's been playing with nothing at quarterback. Like we've talked about early in the draft, earlier in the episode, I'm sorry. There's a lot of quarterbacks available in this year's draft, in this year's free agency, in this year's trade market. I fully expect the football team to go out and get one of these quarterbacks. I don't know who it's going to be, if it's going to be a Stafford, if it's going to be a Matt Ryan, or they're going to take one, trade up in the draft to take one of these rookies. I don't know, but it can't, whoever it is, it can't be possibly worse than the situation that Terry McLaurin's had in his first 2 years in the league. And despite that, he's finished receiver 29 and 20 respectively. With this year he had 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last year he had 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's a beast. If he could ever get a quarterback that can get him the ball, his value is only going to skyrocket. I know his value is high, just because he's probably a top 15 to 20 dynasty receiver right now. But his value can only go up from here, in my opinion.
Would you rather have Terry McLaurin or an Allen Robinson?
Give me scary Terry.
What about Terry or T. Higgins?
I'm going to take Terry.
Ooh, okay. Terry or DJ Moore?
DJ Moore. That's where I draw it.
Okay.
Seriously. I like
I might
Scary
still
a
take
lot
Terry.
more than DJ Moore.
Ooh,
I like
I don't know
DJ
if
Moore.
it's a lot.
I think he's another guy that's going to get a quarterback, and he's been playing with a Cam Newton with one arm and one leg, and this year with Teddy Bridgewater. So I think
I know
both
this
of these
may
guys
sound
are.
like a. Sorry, Jake. Keep going.
No, I just think DJ Moore and Terry are pretty similar. I think DJ Moore's been in the league 1 year longer, but they both never really had a great quarterback throwing them the ball, and they both produced, statistically, in every season they've been in the league. So I think both of these guys moving forward, potentially with rookie quarterbacks or a new quarterback, will both benefit here.
Yeah, DJ Moore has also been in the league 1 year more than Terry McLaurin, but I believe he's 2 full years younger than Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's kind of like this analytical anomaly. Like
Terry
it's
McLaurin
very
is
rare
25, and DJ
DJ's
Moore
23. It's like a year and a half
23.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Terry McLaurin's like a unicorn in the fact that like he didn't have a breakout age in college and he was a 24-year-old rookie. So it's like it's very rare for Terry McLaurin to be doing what he's doing. I think almost like never been done, kind of stats wise and analytically.
I
Well,
still
right
believe
now
in
in my
him.
rankings, I know this is gonna come as like the hottest take of all time if I were to ask this in r/dynasty, but I have Terry McLaurin rated above CeeDee Lamb. God forbid I rate any player above one of these 2020 rookies. I really like
Frank,
the way
I
CeeDee
I don't
playing
think
right
it's that hard to take. I really don't think it's that hard to take. Like obviously, CeeDee's great, but he is competing for targets in this crowded Dallas offense. And it's still a question mark at quarterback. They haven't signed Dak yet. They haven't, like JT said, they haven't been rumblings that they're even close yet. So I don't think it's that hard to take.
I have him rated
Where do
pretty
you have
similarly.
where do you have Michael Thomas in comparison to those guys?
I have him right in between the two of them, actually. That's hilarious you brought that up.
I swear I wasn't looking. I just wanted to gauge value on everyone. All right. Well, that's good to know then. All right. So, but it sounds like you got them all like,
Yeah,
like,
they're right.
pretty
They're in the
close.
They're in
same
that same
tier. They're right around each other. It's at that I can understand why people like CD more than the two of those guys, especially if you love his talent and like his long term. Go ahead. It's just I've always been the guy that unless I really loved a rookie coming out, I am not gonna just all of a sudden buy insanely high on them after 1 year of production, especially in a weird year like this year was, right? I mean, I this is kind of a bad example. Just imagine if, you know, the season was only a half of what it was, because that's honestly what the sample size of an NFL season is like, right? It's very small sample size. And we saw Chase Claypool's number. Chase Claypool would be around the top 12, 13 receivers if we just take what he did in the first half of the season. And I feel like that's kind of how people are valuing Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. It's like, okay, they've had one good year. I understand they were crazy years, but at the end of the day, I'd much rather have Calvin Ridley than the both of them right now. I'd rather have, the Tyreek Hills, the Devontae Adams, even DK Metcalf. Like, I just, in terms of dynasty, especially in a startup draft, I want that little bit more proven asset than taking the risk. I don't care how good the payoff is. Sorry for the rant, but
That's a fair point.
It's all good. Well,
just completely
all right.
off
Now
topic.
that it's not that off topic, who are your buy highs and
Hey,
solos?
you forgot my cells,
Oh
JT.
yeah,
Let's go back
I
to
guess
my
we gotta
cells.
listen.
Slow down
We gotta
here.
listen to Jake and his Julio drama all over again. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah. We've heard it before. My sell low is Julio Jones. He's gonna be 32 next year. He played like 6 games this year. Obviously, when he's playing, he's an elite wide receiver. He's still the Julio Jones we know. He just can't stay healthy anymore. And for that reason, the best type of player is an available one. If he's not going to be on the field and you can get anything for him, you can get a late first, you can get maybe 2 seconds for him at this point. I think it's something to do. Receivers typically start to fall off around this age. I know he's an elite wide receiver and really, a freak of nature type of physical talent. But even then, father time gets you. So that's where I'm going. I'm selling him for now.
And I think it's a fair point. I mean, how old is he now? He's 32. He just had an injury-riddled season. I think I mentioned this on an earlier pod about him. Ridley's only going to continue to get better. He's only going to continue to improve by the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if Julio, well, he would have a good season, assuming he stays healthy, if Ridley has a little bit better statistical year. So no, I get it. Even though he is insane, one of the best receivers of all time.
I think there's also a good chance he is not playing in Atlanta next year. Change of scenery may help, may hurt, unknown. So we'll see.
I think it'll definitely be better to sell him because I think that change of scenery might hype him up a little bit, especially if he goes to a good offense. But real quick, I'll get into my sell low and buy high. I'll do two buy highs, one that I'll do really quickly, and then another that, because I know in the last episode I talked about Darnell Mooney. He's not the best buy high, but in terms of a guy that I would overpay for, dude, I really love Darnell Mooney's talent. And he's the kind of guy, I don't care if they bring in another receiver in Chicago. I don't really care who their quarterback is, as long as they can just hit any wide open throw. It's hard to imagine it would be worse than what it was the past couple of seasons. So Darnell Mooney, I love. You can get him for less than a first. Another buy that I also
Love
really
that
love.
one, by the way.
Oh yeah, Darnell Mooney's gonna be so good.
He's great.
Bobby Tonyan, Robert Tonyan from the Packers. Dude, I wanted to buy him earlier in the season. I'm still going to try and buy him now in a lot of my leagues. Robert Tonyan, I think, is going to have. I know he had a breakout season this year, but I think that the season that he will have in 2021 will make this breakout look very insignificant. I think that Robert Tonyan has that chance of being an easily top 5 tight end. Not necessarily in terms of longevity, but like if we're looking, if you're a competing team that has like a crappy tight end like a Hunter Henry, and you want a good little tight end 2 play that you can get for less than a first, you don't have to go and pick up a Kyle Pitts. Robert Tonyan, I think, is the guy for you. This is, I think, the only really elite level tight end that you can pick up for less than a first round pick in any tight end premium league. You know, there's no shot Darren Waller owners giving up for less than a first. Mark Andrews, Kittle, Kelsey, even Dallas Goedert. Like, you would be hard pressed to find an owner, especially if it's a competing team, to give him up for less than a late first. So I think Bobby Tonyan is a great buy. You guys got any thoughts on those two?
I mean, I've already said I love Mooney. Tonyan, real quick, I agree with you. I think as long as Rodgers is in Green Bay, his value is way too low.
I was gonna say, does the Rodgers situation kind of scare you? Because if he's there, I like it, and I've been a huge Mooney fan, agreeing with you. I 1,000% agree. Tanyan, if Rodgers stays, yes. If Rodgers does leave, I think he'll still be good. I think he'll probably still be a tight end 1. I just don't think as high as he would have been.
All right, JT, go ahead and say your thing that I'm going to guess is about some sort of touchdown regression.
Not far off about Tanyan. He had one of the highest catch rates. So it's actually a catch. This is a catch regression thing more than a touchdown regression thing. I just don't see them like when your number 1 wide receiver is Devontae Adams. Obviously, the ball is going to go to him a ton. But then, like, your next 2 guys are Allen Lazard and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And it's just like, to me, if they add any other competent wide receiver 2, I just think targets are going to go down for Tonyan. And if he's not catching the same amount of targets and he's not getting the same amount of targets, like, targets are really what make that tight end, like that top tight end kind of player. And that's what's got me worried. Not only that, but yes, Aaron Rodgers might be out. We saw some kind of cryptic stuff in his presser. Obviously, it's a presser right after a big game that you just lost. So I don't know how much value we could put in that, but at some point, Rodgers is going to be gone. And I just don't know if Jordan Love is going to be the type 2 feed tight end. So,
yeah, my whole thing is I just think.
I will say.
Sorry, Lounis, this is my turn. It's my turn.
I was going to defend you. Do you think?
You're going to see they have Mercedes Lewis, so I think he's going to be gone next season. And the other thing, dude, Tonyan is one of those guys that he's just good in all phases. He's one of the few tight ends that you can kind of just put the ball in his hands and he'll make something happen. You do not see that a whole lot in the NFL with tight ends. And on top of that, he's a threat one-on-one. He's good against zone. Like, I just feel like with Tonyan, he's a tight end that you can get that's the entire package that you don't have to pay a ridiculous price for. He's kind of like that. I don't know. For me, he's just kind of like an anomaly right now in that, it's almost like, remember when Darren Waller was coming up, and even in this offseason, I was like, oh, well, Darren Waller is going to be able to do it again. He was a guy, like, came up weird, converted receiver. And a lot of people had doubts. I'm not sure it's the same way because Waller kind of had a crazier year and I think was worth a little more. But I think Tonyan is in a similar vein to that.
Fair point. And the point I was going to say to back up, Frank, when JT brought up the targets, I do expect them to improve their wide receiver 2 position, which you did mention will take some targets there. But also, it looks like, and I'm guessing, I don't think Aaron Jones is on that team next year. And he was a big threat in the short passing game, where I think Tonyan can take some of those targets if he's not there anymore.
All right. Let's get into my sell, though. My sell. And I have been telling people I feel like to sell this guy for so long is Kenyon Drake. I have never been a Kenyon Drake fan. I've gotten into so many arguments about Kenyon Drake, and I would have sold him every single year if he was ever on my team, and I'm still selling him now. I would sell him for just about anything, a bag of Lay's potato chips, even the bad kinds, second round picks, third round picks. Honestly, just I have never believed in Kenyon Drake. I think he's such a jag. I think he's just going to continue to be a meddling jag and just hang around the NFL for another 2 years before he's just out.
Okay, I got a couple thoughts on
Lay's
this.
potato chips would you take for him?
Yeah, no, wait, hold on, Jake, hold on. I got a couple thoughts. One, this might be stealing from like the part of my take, but like we should totally do a Lay's potato chip draft at some point. I think that might get our top views on YouTube. Now, two,
Like and subscribe.
I've also been like and subscribe, comment below. Two, I've also been trying. I was a Kenyon Drake owner in our Dynasty League, and I was trying to sell him every year, and it was impossible. There was a point in time where I couldn't sell Kenyon Drake for like Benny Snell. Like I wanted Benny Snell in like a third, and this was before he got traded to Arizona. But like his perceived value is always so low, and until this year when he did get that starting like dominant kind of role where he was able to do stuff while he was kind of suffering from the Adam Gase effect in Miami. But it's just like I don't see it either. I don't see it in the guy. Like I don't necessarily believe Chase Edmonds is the answer for Arizona either. But I don't think Kenyon Drake will ever have a starting role again. You know, barring injuries and whatnot. But like he won't be one of the top 32 running back. Sorry. In the league.
He won't be a top 32 quarterback either. If you were hoping for him to become a top 32 quarterback, you're not going to see it.
We'll see what the Bears and some other teams do. He might.
All right, but let's get into some free agent season, boys. Who wants to kick it off?
Yeah.
I can start with the first guy, Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's interesting because he's gonna get some decent offers. He's 24 years old, had 1,300 yards last year. In the games he missed some games this year, but in the games he's played pretty well. And again, this has been his entire career as a number 2 to Mike Evans, and then AB's coming in and taking some targets also. I think some interesting fits. Obviously, I expect the Giants to be looking for a receiver, and we're going to mention some other receivers that I also expect the Giants to be interested in.
I think the Giants might take a receiver at 11 if we're going to be completely honest.
They could also take someone like a Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle at 11. My early guess on Godwin, what I've seen a little bit of rumors of, is that the Bucs are going to try to franchise tag him. In which case,
I see that. I think that's happening.
Yeah, which is my guy. I don't think they want to.
I also believe that'll happen.
Yeah, I don't think they just want to lose him like that. And he's still really young entering his first free agency. He came into the NFL really young.
Brady's going to stick around another year, so I feel like they're just going to, especially if they made the Super Bowl, regardless if they win, they're just going to go all in for another season to try and get a ring or another ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Godwin's someone I don't think's on the move. And I think we kind of agree on that consensus. So 2 people, though, that I'm going to group together, though, that I do believe are likely to be on the move are both 27-year-old wide receivers from the same division, NFC North. That's Kenny Golladay and Allen Robinson. I guess I'll start with Golladay. I just don't really see him going back to the Lions. I feel like he's kind of felt, like shunned by not shunned by the organization, but like they haven't really done anything to help him out. This whole year was kind of a debacle and drama with him and the team. And so that's kind of, what's going to be the case, I believe, with Allen Robinson, too. There was a whole drama with him taking out the Bears from his Twitter bio and deleting Instagram pictures or whatnot. So I think he'll be on the move, too. I'm excited to see where they go. I would love if either of them somehow ended up on divisional rival, the Packers. I don't know if the Packers are really in the market for either of them, but I'd love for that to be a good spot for either of them. You guys got any feelings on these two?
Yes. Allen Robinson, hear me out. This is going to be crazy.
Okay.
Allen Robinson, everyone's saying, what could he do with a great quarterback? And I think that's a valid point. But at the
He's
same
playing
time,
with Blake Bortles, though, so
what could he do
What's
with
your
a
point?
great quarterback? What if the secret to Allen Robinson this whole time is you pair him with a shit quarterback and he's good? And all of a sudden, if he goes to a good quarterback, things start not working out, like the timing's off, Maybe Allen Robinson this whole time has been good with bad quarterbacks. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Frank's just big braining all of Dynasty football right now.
This is some hardcore
I have
analysis
no
going on.
response than to exactly put it in my pipe and smoke it.
JT, can we run the stats on good quarterback regression?
I don't have those. I'm pretty sure Allen Robinson top 10 over the past 2 or 3 seasons in least catchable balls. I think if you've watched any of the Jaguars or Chicago Bears games, like I think you'd see why and understand. So the quarterback situation can't get much worse. And as a free agent, I feel like Allen Robinson's going to try and go to a team with a good quarterback, at least a quarterback that can, somewhat reach him and hit him accurately. So I feel like the sky's only up and value can only go up, but I think that's kind of been baked into his value right now, as basically everyone kind of predicts that he will be on a better offense.
Yeah, so honestly, what's the play with these guys? Because I think we all know Allen Robinson right now has always been that low end wide receiver 1 that you can pick up for a high end wide receiver 2 price up until maybe now. And then on the other hand, it's like Golladay. We know Golladay is talented, but he's just him and Sutton. They're coming off injuries, a little bit of a weird situation. What's going on? I just want all you guys, like in the stock market, give me a buy, sell, or hold on both of those guys.
Well, I'm typically go ahead, Jake. I've talked a lot.
So I am of the mindset that both of these guys' stocks are going to skyrocket once they sign with a new team. I am going to assume.
Let me hold you up, Jake. Let me hold you up real quick. So I have Allen Robinson as wide receiver 13 and Kenny Golladay as wide receiver 20. So in terms of the buy and sell, you're buying at that price, okay? I just want to put that on the record.
I think they're both a little bit higher than I'm definitely buying Golladay at wide receiver 20 price.
Okay.
Because I view him as one of I'll say a very high-end wide receiver 2. Could possibly enter the low-end wide receiver 1 depending on where he ends up. If he's end up you saw what a new place for Stephon Diggs did.
Yeah, no, I totally see that. But Jake, you're thinking with Allen Robinson that he goes to a good offense. He's top 10 kind of a guy. He can be probably low tier top 10.
If he signs with, I don't know, JT brought it up before, the Packers, his value is going to skyrocket throughout the community.
God.
Everybody is going to everyone's going to lose their mind. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cash it in. I am going to say, listen, he went to a team that probably has an established wide receiver 1, maybe a tight end, maybe a good running game behind it. He's not going to put up these numbers that he's been putting up because I kind of buy into what you're saying, Frank. He's been on these teams that had to throw the ball in garbage time a whole lot. And he benefits from it. If you look at a lot of the games, Allen Robinson puts up a lot of these numbers late in games when they don't really matter to the actual outcome of the game. So I'm buying. I'm selling once he goes to a new team and that price skyrockets up.
Yeah, my whole philosophy on wide receiver free agents. Sorry, cut you off there, Frank.
Wait,
but
can I just say my joke real quick?
Go ahead, say your joke.
Allen Robinson is the Matt Stafford of wide receivers. This just in. Okay, go ahead, JT. Right. Bad joke. Bad joke.
I thought it was funny.
I'll give it 2.5 stars.
2.5. I'll take 2.5 stars.
All right, but where I was going is I kind of like to fade free agent wide receivers, like if you look in years past, there haven't been many that go on to new teams through free agency and end up playing well. Like, I mean, the only ones that really come to mind are Robbie Anderson this year, going from the Jets to the Panthers. And then like Cole Beasley, I guess, kind of had a resurgence in his career going from the Cowboys to the Bills. Like, sure, I just don't see like top tier talent really boosting their value moving.
Wait, was Randy
can't-
Moss a free agent or was he traded?
That's a good
He was
question.
definitely traded at some points, but like one of
Yeah.
those
He was
moves had to
definitely
be a free
traded.
agent
I
move.
mean, I don't
I'm pretty
see,
sure he was traded to Oakland and then signed with New England.
I don't
I
think
think.
I don't think there's a huge difference in like a receiver getting traded to a new team in the offseason or a new team paying a big contract to a receiver in the offseason. I think it's either way. A new team is giving up assets, whether it be money or actual picks pieces, because they really want that receiver.
No,
and they have
I
a plan
agree
for
with
it.
that, Lunis. It's just I think JT did bring up a good point. You just look at historically speaking, like I feel like receivers that have been traded for, historically speaking, produce better than free agent guys.
In 2007, Moss was traded to the Patriots for a 4th round pick.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah,
such
no,
a
his stock was
steal.
that low.
Oh my
Yeah, no, I
stonks.
He just went on
I
to
just
have
meant
like the
the point
best
of, like-
season in receiver history.
Oh my god, stonks.
No,
Yeah.
I just meant either way with trades or free agency, the team is trying to get that player because they have a specific role in mind for that player. Like they know how they want to use them, and that's why they're giving up those assets. And for Robinson and Galladay, they're both going to have to. You're going to have to pay both of them a lot for multiple years.
Yeah.
So if we do see some guys who have switched teams, like we saw what Hopkins and Stephon Diggs did this year on their new teams, also.
Yeah.
Big
So, the only thing that I'll counter that with is, and then I think we can move on, is it's wide receivers also have to learn, like, with quarterbacks when they sign to a new team, wide receivers also have to learn the system and they have to learn the new playbook and everything. And with that, I'm higher on Allen Robinson than I am Kenny Galladay, just because Allen Robinson has done it moving from Jacksonville to Chicago. Like, I don't know if Kenny Galladay will be capable of doing that. Like, they're also not going to get that same kind of dedication and time that the quarterback's going to get towards learning the new system and playbook and whatnot. So that's all I got.
Buy and sell label, JT. Buy, sell, hold. Give it to me.
Okay.
So
So
both.
no, I think I'd sell Galladay. I'd hold Allen Robinson.
Wow.
That's about where I'm at. All right. So who's next? We've got Will Fuller. Interesting one. Anyone want to take this?
Dibs.
All right, go ahead.
Will Fuller, I love Will Fuller. He is so good. He is so freaking good. The only problem is just I really feel like he's one of those guys that depends on how your league values him, because he's not someone that I'm going to pay, or at least want to pay, that late first round price for, especially in this draft. It's like, dude, I know that's probably what he's worth, but I really don't want to give up a first round pick for Will Fuller. But if I can give up like anything but that first round pick for Will Fuller, oh dude, I will buy the shit out of him. This guy is so good. He just can't stay on the field.
If you had like 201 or 202, you're trading that for Fuller?
Probably. Depends on who's on the board if it's a guy that I really like. But most likely, yeah.
Okay.
It's just, dude,
it's
Will
close to
Fuller
me.
at
I
the end
think-
of the day is one of those guys that he could pull out. He could be a top 5 receiver in fantasy next year, and no one would bat an eye. Everyone would be like, it's Will Fuller. Like he's probably just going to get injured the next game.
Do you have any injury concerns? Of course, the one season he stays healthy, he gets tagged for PEDs. You don't think that's a goddamn concern?
I ain't a freaking doctor.
He's like, I can't stay healthy. Might as well take some PEDs. If I get caught, I'm going to play the same amount of games if I was going to get hurt
I
anyway.
forgot about that. He's going to get suspended at the beginning of next year, right?
He's missing the
got
first
1
2
game.
games of
I
next.
thought he already had a suspension this season.
He's missing 2 games to start next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not going to have a wide
That's not
receiver
bad.
5 season.
Well, yeah, it's kind of already out of the stars, but like I am worried about his frame being only like 6 foot, 180, 185. Like it's not ideal for durability. All right, well,
Because if he does stay healthy, I do like him a lot, like Frank does too. I think health is the only thing concerning. And also, I guess where he ends up. It's Houston now without Watson. I don't really love that situation. Until at least I know who their quarterback's going to be, whether it be Tua or one of the rookies. So I think landing spot's going to be big for him and his health. But I agree with you, Frank. He is an insanely talented receiver. Who do we have next on our list?
We have Juju. Corey Davis. Let's speed run Juju.
You want to group them?
Yeah,
Juju,
I mean,
sell.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think everyone should sell Juju.
Do
I think we're all in agreement here.
Yeah, okay. Name brand hype. I think you could just get more than wherever he's going to end
Corey
up.
Davis.
I think we all agree on that.
Sell.
I also feel like a sell.
So,
oh, okay.
I don't think he's going to have as good a year as he did this year.
Jake, we'll give you a soapbox. Give Jake like a 30-second soapbox. Pitch us why you should buy Corey Davis. I think we already
Corey Davis. Corey Davis, listen, I think everyone bought into too much into the hype of him being, the 4th overall pick in the draft, and I think he's really settled into this role behind AJ Brown and with Jonnu Smith taking some of the targets as well. I think him as a number 2 receiver is great in any offense, and he'll really continue to play this role wherever he is, as long as wherever he goes, he doesn't try to be this number 1 receiver. I think being this number 2 receiver is the best role for him, and as long as he sticks to that, I think he will continue to produce the way he has this year.
Hunter Henry, sell.
Hold.
I think I'm
not
JT.
willing to say buy, but I'm holding.
If he ends up in a situation where, like, if he signs with the Patriots, I love that fit.
I think he's just going to end up back on the Chargers because I don't really see them going with Donald Parham.
I'm just saying that because I've seen rumors saying the Patriots are expected to pursue Hunter Henry this offseason.
There are a couple good tight ends in the draft, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to answer that position in the draft, possibly.
They did draft Devin Asiasi.
I was talking about the Chargers.
The Chargers, okay.
The Chargers are in a prime spot to go and get Kyle Pitts. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you still got Freiermuth, or however the hell you say it. You got
Revan Jordan.
that guy from Miami. You got Charlie Kolar from Iowa State that I like a little bit. There are some good tight ends. All right, so we all got a take on Hunter Henry.
I think we all said yeah.
Jonnu Smith.
Bye. I'm saying that as a Jonnu Smith owner, though. But as a Jonnu Smith owner, it's just the lack of targets is what's really keeping him down. I think his high in targets this year was 7. And it's just the Titans are one of the teams that don't really throw the tight ends a whole lot. I think he will move in free agency. But even if he doesn't, like, you're getting a new coordinator. Arthur Smith is gone. I don't think they're going to rely on Derrick Henry as much just because of the sheer amount of volume that they've given him the past few years. Like he's gonna like fall apart eventually. And I think they just rather prefer to preserve him for as long as they can and, kind of have him lead them in the playoffs. Cause it seemed like he's lost steam in the playoffs when they get there. So Jonnu, if you increase his targets, he had crazy touchdowns. I get touchdown regression is a thing, but he's also shown that he's just such a physical presence in the end zone that he's someone that can't be ignored.
I like that a lot, JT. I think you're right. Scheme doesn't help tight ends for them. All right, you go, Jake.
I like the player. I think the fit of where he ends up is going to depend a lot for him. He's a hold for me.
All right.
Gerald Everett.
Gerald Everett is a player that I really enjoy.
Wait, Lounis, did you want to say something about Jonnu?
No, I pretty much was just going to repeat what they said.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, get out of here, Lounis.
Gerald Everett is the next tight end that's also a free agent. He's a player that I actually really like. I think he's actually more – I like him more than Tyler Higbee. That is like the starting tight end in LA. And he is a free agent, so I think if he ends up somewhere where he's the tight end 1, he's a very, very good buy low.
I think I don't care about Gerald Everett. He just
it depends on how low. Like if I'm getting him for like literally nothing, I'll take him. But I'm not gonna give any sort of actual draft capital to go and get him. I think that
would you give a late 3rd round pick for Gerald Everett?
I mean,
depending
yeah,
on
I
where he
might give a late
signs?
third round pick depending on where he signs, but that's not necessarily like actual draft. Like if I have Gerald Everett and then he signs into a role where he's a starting tight end, I ain't gonna be able to get him for a late third round pick. That's the problem.
I've got him ranked as tight end 30, 31 on my rankings.
So I think
How?
the best chance for Gerald Everett if
Just
you don't
how?
have
There's
him
not
and
that
you're
many
looking
tight
to
ends.
buy him. Hold on, real quick. If you're looking to buy Gerald Everett and you don't currently have him, I think the best chance, if for some reason, if you just love Gerald Everett, he goes into a similar role that he is right now on the Rams, and then their tight end, either like the top tight end that he signs to the team, either sucks or gets hurt, and then all of a sudden he's forced into number one. I think then that could be a good value get. But other than that, it's like, dude, why am I buying this guy unless I
think
can
he's
get
not-
him before he goes somewhere? But who the hell is selling Gerald Everett right now? Like,
Yeah, unless you're.
I think everyone would. I think that's the point. I think if you go to an owner right now and say, "Hey, I'll give you pick 310 for him," I think they'll go, "Okay,"
I'd accept
just like
that.
you guys are.
I would accept that.
That's the point.
Yeah.
And I think compared to whoever you're going to get at 310, you're going to get a guy that you know is a decent player and a guy that can be a starting tight end if need be.
I think
yeah,
Cole
but
Kmet
why am
was
I giving up 310 for Gerald Everett? I just don't understand. Like, that's the whole point. Like, I'm not, unless he goes somewhere really good, then I would, but then I wouldn't be able to get him for that. But like, I'm not putting my eggs in the Gerald Everett basket. Fuck that. Like,
We're spending
If
more
I owned
time.
Everett right now and you offered me 310, I would accept.
Yeah, we're spending more time on Gerald Everett than we did on Juju. I think we should just. I don't care about Gerald Everett. Who should?
yeah,
No one
him.
should. Unless you're
Alright,
a 2 tight end league, like what's
I'll write this down for you guys.
oh my
Don't
god.
worry.
All right. RBs. I'm basically sell all of them, but we got Chris Carson, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Kenyon Drake.
Buy
All
Chris
sells.
Carson.
Oh, okay.
It depends on what you get him for, obviously, because like you could say buying every freaking player in the league, but if I'm getting if I get Chris Carson at the price of like a late second, dude, I will buy that all day on draft day. Depending on how the board falls, dude, I am getting a running back with way more talent than some of these guys on the board, dude. I'm looking at so let's just go real quick the running back rankings, right? And we're
Yep.
looking at someone like a Kylan Hill is on the board or a Chuba Hubbard is on the board.
Trey Sermon.
Like, dude, honestly, like I might rather the risk on Chris Carson than one of those guys. And like, oh man, I think that could be a really, really good deal.
Yeah, if you're getting them for that price, I feel like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I don't know if that's necessarily the price you get them at, but
yeah, I think that's more of the problem. You're right. Is that like, you know, do you really want to give up Chris Carson for a late second, an early third? But I think realistically, like somewhere in that late second, if you were someone looking to take a running back and you don't like those guys on the board, that you could go for Chris Carson. I think it's way better, obviously, if you're a competing team than, you know, if I'm a rebuilding team and I'm just looking for value, I'd rather trade the pick for future picks or just take a dart throw. I like that. I think that Chris Carson is being way too discounted right now.
I mean, I think a big deciding factor on Chris Carson is his free agency. Obviously, if he signs back in Seattle, I think he has a similar role to what he had this year, which is pretty much, you know,
like,
I mean, who's taking carries from him? Rashad Penny?
he's
Like,
coming back. He'll be healthier. There's no guarantee they don't also draft a running back too. Like the Seahawks
dude,
are
I
weird.
think they may go O-line. Like,
they have so many holes that we've seen.
Yeah,
The
they
second half of the
also
year,
they also gave up. I mean, not that they were going to draft in the first round, but didn't they give up their first to the Jets for
they
Jamal
did.
Adams?
for Jamal Adams.
This is a pretty
Yeah.
loaded O-line class. It's looking like.
Yeah, I think he'll have, I guess, a similar role, but I don't think there'll ever be an increase in usage. It's only.
I don't know. I think
only
you're right, JT, though, because like when you look at the draft board, Seattle at 56, I think they're picking out in the second. That is such a running back prime spot.
It's where they always get drafted.
Like you could save the cash on signing a running back, go and try and sign a free agent, and then just draft a pretty damn talented running back. All right, Aaron Jones.
Louis, tell us why you should buy him.
Okay, so naturally the answer is sell, but I think he's kind of getting the Derrick Henry system where syndrome, where so many people are saying sell. His value is almost kind of getting a little bit too low.
I think the key takeaway from
Um,
that is we're gonna have to add Derrick Henry syndrome to our what's it called, lexicon. We've got the Joe
The
Mixon
Joe
effect.
Mixon paradox.
Yeah, Joe Mixon paradox, the Juju
The
effect,
Juju effect.
and the Derrick Henry syndrome are our 3 ones now. We got
Buy our merch.
Wait, there was that one around Christian Kirk too that I like. Can we have that one?
Yeah, I forget. I feel like I came
We
up
need
with
to
that one.
actually like coin these, but
I think I might have used that
Yeah.
twice, so we're gonna have to diversify our adjectives or adverbs or whatever we're using around them.
I'm selling Aaron Jones.
And I wouldn't say
Damn.
necessarily buy. For me, he's a hold just because you're not gonna get the appropriate value for him right now. I don't think because everyone is saying sell.
What's his
Like-
dream landing spot? Miami,
Atlanta.
Atlanta, Jets.
I think the
Watch it.
Jets
And I think those
would be a
teams
good
have a
one.
deep- I would be happy if he was on the Jets.
He'll be
Team with Atlanta.
he'll be the top free agent running back, like easily.
I think you're right. I think he's a hold because like you're not selling him for much, and then if
Yeah,
you're
that's
really
fair.
looking on selling him, you either sell off the free agent hype or you wait for him to have one of those crazy Aaron Jones weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm willing to be convinced to move from sell to hold on Aaron Jones, just because I do believe a lot of people are like myself and are like we know he's almost definitely not staying with the Packers, and
It's just
where
what
he ends
price
up.
are you getting for him? What is the price for Aaron Jones?
You're not getting a first for
I
him.
think
You
you can
have
get
to
2
get a first
seconds.
for him.
That's
But that's the
tr-
point. I don't
I'm
think
telling
we
you,
can.
this is an Aaron Jones owner. No one's giving a first right now. That's what I'm saying with everyone saying
So
sell.
I can get Aaron
I
Jones
can't-
for a first round pick. Any first round pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
Buy
telling
him.
you, I can't get a first.
Fucking buy him.
That's what I was saying with the Derrick
Frank's
Henry
mind
syndrome.
has been changed.
Excuse me, waitress, can I have 3 Aaron Joneses, please? Thank you.
That might be a
That's
good
what I'm
place to
saying with
cut
him,
it.
with so many people are saying sell that his value's gone. And he's been what? He's been RB2 last year, RB5 this year. Won't be that good, but it's still.
Dude,
That's legit.
I'm taking a loan out and I'm buying 18 fucking Aaron Joneses at that price. All right, James Conner and Kenyon Drake. We're gonna group them into one big shit bucket that you will sell to any
Sell.
looming person.
Yeah, any of you guys want James
No.
Conner? I'll sell him
No.
to you.
No.
I'll give him to you for nearly nothing.
How about this? Who's the better buy, James Conner or Kenyon Drake? I think that's more of the actual question.
I think it's Drake and
I
just
think
hope,
Drake bought a little bit.
just Drake and like hope he somehow ends up back in Arizona and like can at least kind of retain his role. Because I feel like even if Connor does resign with Pittsburgh, I'd take Drake resigning with Arizona.
Dude, everyone I think is overrating the Pittsburgh landing spot for a running back. That is not a fun place to run the ball right now.
I'm not like I still want Drake over him, and I don't value Drake very highly.
Wait, I was just more so talking about for rookies. Like,
yeah,
oh, if Najee Harris
ends
gets
up there.
drafted by
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, oh my God, bye. Like, dude, if I want Najee Harris, I want him to go like everywhere but Pittsburgh right now.
Well, what about Tampa? Because that's why one of the mock drafts.
Okay, yeah,
going.
screw Tampa. That might be even worse.
All right. Well, like, what's the price for these guys?
Literally
third?
nothing.
At most.
Yeah.
second.
Probably an early third if we're being
Yeah,
realistic.
an early third, late second.
I'd
early
say
third.
Drake late second, Connor early third.
Dude, Connor is real. Like, it might, like, on draft day, if you offer up Connor for early thirds, I think it gets declined just because, like, you're going to see who's on the
Well,
board
that's
there.
draft day. Yeah.
Like,
I think right
especially
now
in a
when you can't put a
Superflex
name to the
league, dude. Because,
Yeah.
like, what if Trey Sermon's on the board? Like, I think most people would rather have Trey Sermon than James Conner right now.
Yeah, I'd rather take the gamble on Trey Sermon.
I'll take the chance on Sermon.
Jamar Jefferson.
I
might
should
be
just
around
offer
there.
that to some people in our league. See if anyone bites.
Yeah.
Give me one or 301 and 302 or 302. I'll take it. I don't care.
This whole podcast YouTube stuff was a scheme by Jake for us to give him fancy advice.
All right,
Long-
get your
long
advice.
conflict.
Hey, JC, I don't need your advice. I've won. You've won nothing.
You know who doesn't need your advice? Jimmy. That's where I think we should leave it. Are we good on this episode?
Jake,
Yeah, I'm good.
mind you.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening, guys. As always, subscribe, comment, like the video, whatever it is. Leave us some feedback. Peace, guys.
Thank you, everyone.